Did you always know that you were going to be doing this really offensive, not PC type stuff, or is that something that you just slowly kind of realize, like, this is basically who I am and what I want to be doing?
Dude, I don't know, man. Like, it's I don't know where it comes from, dude. Like, I'll be taking improv classes, and I have to shape up in improv, especially in LA too. Everybody's very progressive. Like, the jokes have to be very straightforward and clean. But then I sit down to write, and like every joke is a domestic violence joke, rape joke, racist joke. Like, it just flows out of me, just offensive stuff.
Right.
Like, I was reading her a joke that I wrote about hitting women that I was so proud of yesterday morning when I woke up. I was like, baby, listen to this. Right. Then I can't help it, dude. It just, for some reason, I'm an offensive person.
Right. And I get that. That's one of my main things is I feel like the fact that people think it's not good to joke around about offensive shit, that's gonna be one of the worst things that has really developed during my lifetime. Like that's a good way to deal with something that is fucked up or traumatic. And it's just, you joke about it because you're not gonna do it. Because you know that, like, you wouldn't be able to go out and make those kind of the racial jokes. Like, you wouldn't be able to go do that if you were really racist. I can very much appreciate it because it's you know, I just like shit that pushes that line, and it's as there becomes less and less of that. And even hearing you say something like you get banned off Twitter, I mean, it's a sad, scary state of affairs these days. Yeah,
and you being able to tap dance the barrier of offensive comedy, you're like that fucking world, you being able to do that without being actually offensive or actually hurting feelings just demonstrates your social intelligence. Whereas I don't want to be around the guy who just is completely clean, works at Morgan Stanley, and can't make any of these offensive jokes. Imagine how much of a psycho that guy is. Like a dude who will not do anything offensive, say anything offensive, be involved in any sort of undesirable activities. Imagine how fucking, like, what is he doing? What is he jerking off to? What would the FBI do if they seized his hard drive?
And that's what's weird is that when I'm watching a video of you, like, going to college campuses and fucking with people, and I'm just seeing these kids who have clearly absorbed this like modern woke discord of how you're supposed to act, and that to them is just the default. This is how the world is, and they have no idea that this is optional for you to buy into this bullshit of being offended by everything.
It's a religion now. The wokeness is a religion, and I think a lot of people just do it out of fear, Adam, because they're worried for their careers.
Definitely.
They know that when they were at a kegger once in college, they grabbed a girl's ass after a couple Bud Lights, and they're terrified somebody had a flip phone video of that. And if they fill their Twitter feed with enough angry tweets at Donald Trump and enough cancel this guy, cancel that guy tweets, that maybe people will overlook the iPhone video when it surfaces of them grabbing an ass. I think people adopt it as this defensive thing. Like, don't fuck with me, get that guy. I'm clean here, I'm with you.
And the idea that just being quiet or not having an opinion loudly, like, I already am seeing, you know, the comments come in, why haven't you said anything about Israel? It's like, motherfucker, I don't feel like it's my job to hop in on every political issue that I, like, admittedly am not particularly knowledgeable about. Like, the idea that everyone has to hop on that is fucking insane.
There's only so much bandwidth in our heads. You are concerned with music and fashion, and you're fucking in comedy, and you're fucking deep on that shit. Like, how much time do people think you have to be reading newspapers and attending academic lectures on the state of Israel and Palestine?
I consider it a great privilege that I very much appreciate, that there's a lot of political stuff that I don't have to talk about, because that just seems like everybody, like, feels like it's their responsibility to have those conversations, and it feels good to be, you know, I don't take that for granted, that I get to just sort of not comment on the most controversial things that I want nothing to do with.
And for me also, like, when I do a video on a political topic, I always just immediately adopt the side that is not the mainstream one. So right now, like, everybody's very anti-Israel probably, because they probably have some right to be. From what I understand, Israel is just fucking destroying Palestinian poor people essentially. But I just want to go be pro-Palestine right now to piss people off. Or during the Me Too movement, I did a bunch of Me Too videos that were chock full of rape jokes, just because I immediately want to do what everybody else isn't doing.
I was crying laughing last night watching you do the Me Too thing, where you were like, here's a scenario scenario. You wake up with your panties missing in the front yard of a frat house. Should you report it or just chalk it up to the game? And the girls were getting so mad at you for saying that shit.
Yeah.
I was dying laughing at that shit.
Yeah,
bro.
it's fucking great. If you can go there and you can just, what's going to push these people's buttons.
Right.
Like, isn't that more interesting than showing up with a hashtag I'm with her or fucking Bernie Sanders shirt or like a BLM shirt? You want to watch, maybe in a different part of life or a different industry, that those are the correct things to do. But for me, I want people to be entertained and watch. You want to see the guy go out there and be hated.
Right. And there's always been something about stand-up that I didn't really like. And I think it's, in a lot of ways, it's someone who is trained to be funny going on stage to a bunch of people who are there to laugh and then trying to be funny to them, and then they laugh. And this exchange seems too willing. Like the idea of seeing you do this incredibly offensive humor to like an audience who has no idea it's coming, that's hilarious to me. That fills a completely different space in my brain.
Dude, it's hard too, because you're going out and interacting with people who don't want to be around you and they end up hating you. Right. So I have to prep for video shoots like a linebacker preps for the Super Bowl.
Right.
I'm jogging around beforehand. I'm fucking listening to Avenged Sevenfold, or we listen to a lot of douchey metal to get psyched up for.
Because you have to get into a different mindset. You have to be somebody other than yourself, even though you are yourself and you're walking around in your own body.
Yeah. It's definitely tough, man. And that's something I've struggled with. And I heard Conan O'Brien talking about this on a podcast recently, how 15 minutes before he goes and does his comedy bit, he's this like quiet, introverted, intellectual, thoughtful guy. And then he has to go play the buffoon when he's in public. And for me, it's that even more so, because I don't have the blessing of TBS and Coca-Cola and Mercedes-Benz advertising on me. So it's even less acceptable. So yeah, man, I have to get in that fucking mind state. And I think the best way for me to do it is just to shoot all the time. I'm shooting every weekend. I'm podcasting. I'm on some form or another every day, just to stay in that performance mindset.
Right. Like, one of the funniest things I've seen you do was when you were doing the Compton one, which I almost thought that I was done watching your videos, and then I saw the Compton one. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch the Compton one. And then there's a kid who's like blatantly fucked up on Xanax, and you're talking to him, and he starts saying something about how he beat his girl.
Yeah.
And it's funny to think like a lot of people would feel like it was it was be on them. The onus is on them to basically explain to this guy that hitting a woman is not okay. And you do the total opposite, where you start encouraging him and just trying to get more information out of him about beating his girl. Yeah. And all of a sudden, he's just telling you shit. And I thought that was like the fucking funniest thing ever, to go into that world and then just embrace whatever the fuck he's talking about and just let him talk.
Sure, because everybody who has a brain knows this guy's a piece of garbage.
You should not beat your wife. Does that even need to be said?
Exactly.
You know?
And me telling him to not beat his wife isn't going to make him stop beating his wife.
Just wandering the streets of Compton at 6 a.m. off Xanax. Like, whatever you say is not going to change his behavior.
This guy has punched his ticket to prison. It's inevitable. He's going. Right. So why not just get more information out of this guy and see how big of a piece of shit he really is? And that guy, that saga turned into more, because in that video, he took us to a street where his good buddy El Diablo got quote unquote smoked.
This is by the most offensive thing that I saw you do, was having him lay on the ground where his friend got killed, and then you pouring out fucking Aquafina all around him. I was like, if a lot of people that I know who live in Compton saw this, they might not like the idea of me interviewing this guy.
Absolutely. And he, right after that came out, I guess got numerous death threats from people who were friends with El Diablo in his gang. And he was trying to get that video taken down, but then he would FaceTime me and he'd be smoking meth, and he would have all these paranoid fantasies like, they're coming for me. They're coming for me, Danny. I see him in front of my house at night.
Holy shit.
And nothing ever happened. He's still alive. He's still addicted to meth and still hits his girlfriend. But besides that, nothing happened. But dude, that turned into a big issue, that El Diablo candlelight vigil we had where he laid down in the street.
Right. Was there any part of you that thought about taking it down on his behalf?
Yeah, I was about to. But then I would figure out that he was high on meth, just having paranoid fantasies, and it wasn't actually real. Right. Once I realized he wasn't in jeopardy, and he would see things like they put up a new street sign in my neighborhood. That's the Crips, dude. They're coming for me.
Oh my.
And like that was the degree of shit he was telling me.
Right.
So I let that one go.